we have the light.
Yep, we got the light. Okay, we are WT USAT Data and Facts, and I'm Steph. This is Dawn, and so today we're gonna do a review of the NEXTKD fights that happened last night. So it was the second time they're calling it NEXTKD number 2. So we're gonna go over the pros and the cons. We watched all 9 fights, and the reason why we watched it was because we wanted to see Charlotte Craig fight Victoria Stemba, and that was the very last fight, number 9. And so we took some notes, things that we liked, because we wanted to see, you know, what's the difference between the current WT Taekwondo and, you know, how are they doing the rules, and, you know, is it exciting? Is it better? Is it, you know, what? So,
Yeah.
So Don thought we would go over the pros. So we made a list of pros and cons. So we're going to go over the pros, what we liked about it first, and then we'll go over the cons.
Right.
Okay, do you want to start?
Sure. And it was, you know, 3 hours of entertainment. And we'll get right into it.
Wait, here, cheers.
Oh, let's do that.
Yeah.
Hey, honey.
Happy Saturday night,
Full,
baby.
so full.
Yeah.
Happy Saturday night. Simultaneous sip.
Yes.
I think somebody does that.
Scott Adams.
Scott
simultaneous
Adams.
sip, yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
So we'll go through the pros.
pros.
And, you know, I'll mention one, and then if you want to join in,
You sure? Yeah.
go for it.
Yeah. I'll
So-
follow your lead.
Probably, you know, these are almost in order, not quite. As we get down further, they're not really in priority, but the top ones are kind of the priority. And so the big thing you notice is that there's no protest stoppages.
None. There's no stopping unless there was blood.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah, if there was an injury, somebody got, you know, kicked a
In the
low
nards.
blow in the nards.
Yeah.
And there are a few of those.
Yeah, there was.
Probably the same as in regular Taekwondo.
Yeah, and you were mentioning like they need to be wearing a jock strap. You know, it's like.
Yeah, jockstrap
Protect
inside
the
there,
family
old
jewels.
cup. Most
But,
athletes these days don't wear jockstrap. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Anyway, no protest stoppages, which means that the coaches
Or irrelevant.
couldn't protest exactly. They were just there to
I
talk to
didn't
the
even
athlete
notice.
between rounds.
I didn't even notice the coaches.
Yeah, no, because they weren't standing up with the card.
No,
There's no cards.
The only thing I saw was like, you know, give them a drink
Yeah.
during the 1 minute. So
Yeah.
they were, there were, you know, 3 rounds, 3 2-minute rounds, and so it was not the best out of 3.
Right, cumulative score.
That was, and it was a decagon, not an octagon, which
Right.
basically makes it a circle.
And we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So no protests,
and I just
no
want to,
stoppages.
yeah. And so, in addition to no protests, because there's no PSS, there was no equipment stoppages. Didn't
Yeah.
have to worry about the transmitter on the back of the Hogu.
There's also no replays.
And no replays, no video replays. So it was continuous action unless there was something, you know, that required stoppages.
Like an injury. That was
Like an
really the
injury.
only thing that stopped for anything was the injuries.
Right. And so here's a pro, and we have to explain why this is. So there's a rule that we learned, we didn't know this, there's a rule that you can't hold your leg up for more than 1 kick. There's no multiple dancing across the ring, you know,
Yeah.
kicking, flailing, or clashing and blocking like is so common in regular Taekwondo, where the athlete being attacked puts their leg up to block it. Even though you're not supposed to do that, it happens all the time. So,
Yeah, so,
reduces cut kicks.
Yeah, that basically almost eliminated the cut kicks. We only saw like 1 match where,
One guy won with cut kicks.
but he could only do 1 at a time.
Yes.
Kick down. Kick, you can't, there's none of this going across the floor.
Yeah, that was a guy by the name of Benjamin Lopez
Mm-hmm.
against, he's got a funny name, Nefi Castillo. It was this one right here.
Well, that was match number 4.
Yeah, that was a big height difference. There's about a 9-inch height difference there. And so the cut kick guy beat the athletic, spinning, super small guy.
There was,
With
a lot
cut
of,
kicks.
there was a lot of spinning.
There was, oh yeah.
A lot of them thought they were Bruce Lee.
Yeah, he sure did. And we'll come back to that as to
Okay.
why and how come.
All right,
So,
reduce cut kicks.
yeah, and we sort of hinted at this.
Mm-hmm.
Eliminates leg fencing,
Yeah,
which is like cut kicks, but different.
but also including like blocking with your leg. So
Yeah.
you can't have your leg up unless you're kicking.
Right,
1 kick. You're only
Yeah.
allowed 1 kick.
right.
So there was a lot of gamjongs for the athletes that would kick twice or kick. Well, I guess, can I bring up the con to that as well? Since we're talking about it, because we always are very impressed with athletes that can do 2 kicks with the leg up once, because it means more balance, more skill. Like when you're cut kick to the head,
right?
Or a combination thereof.
Yeah.
You would get a gamjong for that. So I kind of thought that was a con, because it's punishing an athlete for being overly skilled.
Right. And with that same thing, you couldn't feint, where you sort of make it look like you're going to the body, but you actually go to the head, because it's a 2-action thing. You can't do that. So that's a con.
Okay.
We're there.
More scoring.
Yeah. But there's a con.
But okay, so so the pro is that there was more scoring. Oh, and also with the scores, it was because it was not the best 2 out of 3. They went back to the old rules. So 3 rounds, 2 minutes each round, and a cumulative scoring.
Right.
So.
And there's more scoring, and this actually is because
there was more scoring.
This is because of a con. We consider this a con, because the more scoring came from the judges scoring on the sidelines. They were sort of.
There's 5 judges all around the decagon.
Right.
Which I think is a pro.
Yeah, we've got that as a pro.
Yeah, I like that. So basically, if 3 out of the 5 judges sitting around the decagon gave the point, they got the point.
Right. And
however,
we'll explain the points. And so, however,
how did they the rules for awarding a kick? It was by sound, correct?
Right. It's basically by sound, and the announcers, and we'll get back to the announcers. The announcers kept on saying, "Oh, that was trembling shock," which is a classic old school Taekwondo kick and score, but has trembling shock. Well, there wasn't a lot of trembling going on, but there was a lot of noise, the noise created scoring.
Yeah, if you could hear the kick, they would give the score.
Right, and we noticed
the arm kicks counted too.
An awful lot of kicks on the arm guards scored.
Yeah, a lot of them. So
that's why the score went up so high.
Yeah, but one thing I did like with the gamjongs, and this is a pro, is when an athlete, a competitor, was given a gamjong, they removed a point from their score.
Right.
They did not give the opponent a score, a point.
Yes.
They just removed it, which is I think the way it should be done, because it's like you got penalized.
Right.
You're taking a point away.
Right. That was good.
I liked that. It made it simpler.
Right. So it was simpler, but let's get right into the con with that. So it was never explained.
Yeah, they
and
didn't
so we
explain
assumed
any of the rules.
that you could get as many penalties. In fact, there was athletes that had negative scores. -2, starting the round, -2. So you could apparently get as many penalties as are humanly possible in one of these events, and you would never get disqualified. So that was weird. It was never explained, and neither for a round or the match. Not 5 penalties or 10 penalties total. No, it was just you get a penalty. So that was a con for me.
Yeah, it was unclear. That was one of the other cons. Is it was just they didn't tell you what the rules were.
Right.
So, like I know with regular Taekwondo, when you've got the semifinals, and forgive me, I don't remember their names, but it's
the Scottish
accent guy. We love him.
Yeah.
And then
he's usually with Milica Mandic
or Eric Cook sometimes.
Or Eric Cook.
And they're always explaining the rules. How a head kick is 3 points and da 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 da. So even though they've been doing it for over 10, 12 years now, they still always repeat the rules. They're up to 4 gamjongs. If they get 5, they're going to be disqualified and they're done. That was never explained. However, the pro to that was these announcers were really good.
Yeah.
And the whole production was super good. I thought it was very, very professional. It was nice to watch when the athletes came out. They had the smoke and the cool lights, and I think there was music too, wasn't there?
I think there was.
I'm not quite sure.
I think there was.
And they all had their nicknames, and it was just really, really nicely done. It kind of reminded me of the good part of Guadalajara, with the finals. It was very
that was well produced,
fancy and well produced, and they had 3 commentators, all the time.
Yeah.
And so I just thought they did a really good job. It seemed very professional.
Yes, it was solid commentary. That's our pro. And so the three commentators, it was like, Monday Night Football, where there's a play-by-play guy who's
They were
talking
real
almost the whole time.
Uh-huh.
And then there was two color commentators. And they were, very similar guys. It's actually hard to tell who was talking, although eventually you could tell there's almost always one guy who's giving analysis, a lot of analysis. Unlike, World Taekwondo at a Grand Prix where the announcers in the finals and semifinals are basically just describing what's going on, and they might have some cutesy comments. These guys are really getting into the jargon, the nuts and bolts
Yeah,
of,
they were like,
how coaches talk.
what they're going to be doing now and what they should be doing, and how could they have done that better? And
Yeah.
I was really into how they were explaining stuff, except they didn't explain the rules.
Right.
but
That's the negative.
That was the negative part.
We're so busy
But they
with
were very
analysis.
entertaining.
They expected the audience to be super knowledgeable about the rules, which were not clear at all, or even the point scoring. So, for example, we learned eventually by watching the score go up that it was, similar to regular Taekwondo. 1 point for a punch, 2 points for a deemed scoring body kick, and 3 points for a head kick. And a head kick, apparently, you're supposed to dislodge the helmet or something.
Yeah, so there was
Move the head.
hardly any head kicks.
Not a lot of head kicks.
There were a few, but it was the whole, I would say every single match, it was all body kick scoring.
Yeah, mostly.
I would say 95% was body kick scoring.
Right, and then
There was a couple of punches, not many.
yeah,
Charlotte Craig's match, number 9, I think she got like 4
Victoria
punches.
scored a bunch of punches.
I thought Charlotte did
I
too.
think both of them did.
Yeah, but like the very first match, not one punch.
Yeah.
They didn't even try to throw a punch.
Right.
And there was no punching at all. And then it kind of, it almost seemed like as it went by, like the referees were, we'll have to talk about the referees too.
Yeah.
It was like they were kind of getting into the groove and like being smoother with their calls and stuff.
Right. So I'm going to add to your comment with a con that we've got on our list here.
Yeah, okay.
The referees rarely inserted themselves into the match.
That was a pro.
That was a pro.
We liked that. They were dressed in black.
Yes, dressed in black,
They were in black.
standing mostly in the background, but in position.
They did not insert themselves.
And they weren't constantly calling
No.
gamjongs. The most common penalty, and I don't even know if they call them gamjongs, they just call them penalties.
Yeah,
The most common penalty was for a double kick.
a double kick.
And they'd warn the
Not putting
athlete,
your leg
point at
down.
him, and say, -1. But they didn't, artificially insert themselves like a lot of World Taekwondo referees love to do.
Oh.
And, I don't even talk
I
about
think these referees are paid. I think
They probably
and
are.
I think the athletes are paid too.
They were good, weren't they?
Yeah.
The refs were good. High
I
quality.
actually really like the refs.
They did say they're
I would
mostly international referees, IRs.
They did say that, yeah.
Yeah.
hmm So that was a good thing about the referees.
Yeah.
Where we at? Solid
Right
commentary.
there, probably.
Mostly. That was another good thing is there was a lot of back leg scoring which is more powerful because you can't kick twice with your leg up. You have to always put your leg down after one kick, and so it kind of forced a lot of back leg kicking and
right.
scoring.
And they're looking for that trembling shock, which of course is the classic back leg scoring.
Mhm.
So we've covered some of these about the refs and the 3 rounds.
What's this?
Refs did not insert themselves. We talked
Oh,
about
okay.
this. So no standing around.
Yeah.
So
Even the heavyweight guys did stand
Yeah.
around. They were like action all the time.
they called them fin weights in a heavyweight body.
Yeah.
So
Well, that was the other thing too about the weight classes. We really didn't know what the weight classes
no.
were because they didn't tell you, and the athletes seemed, just my opinion, they seemed a lot of them very mismatched. Some of them were 8 inches higher than the other, but their weights they didn't go by kilograms, and we didn't know what like the weight class was. Like what's the tolerance for
there's
for
no
this group that's fighting right now.
there was no categoric limit on the weight. For example, minus 57 for women or whatever, or minus 68 for guys.
They were close. Each,
I wrote down the height and weight of every athlete. So after the fact,
we
you
documented
can
it.
see that, those guys were the same weight.
Yeah.
They were, middleweights or whatever. And the heavyweights were obvious, And so that's a criticism on their website beforehand and during the match on
They
the
had their list,
scoreboard.
but
There was no weight class.
They list who's fighting in each match, but they didn't put their weight class. So it was very confusing.
Oh, they also didn't list. They listed 2 athletes, and normally the first one you mentioned is blue, but no, that didn't. It was random here.
Yeah, it was very confusing.
We'll put out a list of who was in it, who was blue, who was red, and what the scores were.
Yeah, I've got that.
Yeah. Okay, we're
Okay,
almost done our pros.
No standing
Excited
round.
about that? Very well produced.
Yep.
And 5 judges.
The 5 judges, not 2. We went over that.
These are all the cons. That's more cons.
Oh, there's more.
There's no more pros. We got them all.
Okay.
Okay, so you want to? We've talked about some of the cons, but we'll go down our list and see if there's something we missed. And I think there are some important ones. And then number 2 is the first one.
Okay. Well, we did talk about the judges.
Yeah.
They scored based on sound, and which allowed
Boom.
the arm.
Boom.
I mean,
Boom.
you'd hear it kick the arm because there's the shield there.
You can see it.
Yeah, and it made a sound.
Sounded like a chest guard.
Yeah,
It wasn't.
Honestly, that's because of that. It made me appreciate the PSS system
Right.
because that wouldn't happen with the
Okay.
electronic.
So now let's talk about the rules we did not understand. Like here's a big one.
Go.
Was there an actual out of bounds?
Oh my God! It was like
What's he call it? A decagon? Decagon?
Decagon.
Decagon?
No, Decagon.
Decagon?
Which
The
was
decagon
basically a big circle.
was
and
very clear where the apparent
there was
boundary
a
was.
big white,
And sometimes
decagon.
both athletes are outside kicking.
and we're like, how come there's no gamjang? And they're just
And it
They're
only
running-
appeared that unless one guy extremely ran away, way out of bounds,
yes.
were they called for out of bounds.
Yeah, we had no idea where the out of bounds was.
And it wasn't explained. Ever.
And it was like old school when they would just the opponents would run away from each other.
There was
and
no
not
penalty
call,
for running away.
No penalty for
You
running
could
away.
run around the whole ring away. No
There
penalty.
was so much running away. They're like chasing each other.
It was pretty funny at times.
And then going out of bounds and no gamjang,
No.
no penalty.
No.
So that was confusing because we're like, well, how come we didn't get a penalty for going out of bounds?
Why if they got the different colored thing?
But then
matter.
sometimes they would get a gamjang.
So there was a few times they did.
Oh, and the one thing we learned after a few matches was, so if you fall down, you may or may not get a gamjang.
The first time, definitely not.
Because the rule is if you fall down multiple times, so is that 2 or 3? So you
get a warning to start.
We were very confused watching, like we'd seen an athlete, competitor fall down and no gamjang.
No penalty. So they finally, the commentators finally said around match whatever, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, they said that
you get a warning. The ref gives a warning.
And then if it's multiple times, then they'll
Then
give
they'll give them a
gamjang.
penalty.
So I guess that's just up to the referee.
Seemed pretty darn subjective to me.
Yeah. So
we didn't like
that
the
was-
subjectivity of penalties.
That was it wasn't.
That's where the refs
standardized.
inserted themselves.
It wasn't standardized or consistent.
No.
Okay.
Let's see. We talked about commentary failing to explain the rules or the rules. Oh, actually, one of you noticed this one.
Ogugate.
Ogugate.
There was about 3 or 4 matches. Let's see. It was.
Well, I know there was 2 for sure. It might have been 3.
I think it was. Anyway.
Well, it's the heavyweight guys.
Yeah, the heavyweight guys. I saw at least 3 matches where like each opponent were wearing different size hogus.
You could pick whichever size you want.
Apparently. So the heavyweight guys that were.
It was the early ones.
More was that no? It was
Gazzano.
Gazzano.
Gazzano was a 4.
Yeah,
and he was
6'5",
way bigger.
225, and he wore a size 4 hogu.
Yeah.
And then William Starkley, 6 foot 220, he wore a size 5 hogu.
Yeah. Guess who won?
The one with the smaller.
The guy with
hogu.
the smaller hogu.
But then there was another fight where the guy with the bigger hogu won. Let's see, what was that? Germany? Where'd you put that?
I didn't write down every time the hogu size.
You said you did.
Here's a size 4.
I put it in my notes.
Oh, right here? No. Same thing.
Yeah.
Same
so
thing.
Christian
Heavyweights.
Suh,
had a 4.
Christian Suh had a 4.
And the guy from Canada.
Hayek Emmer
Bakian.
had a size 5.
Size 5.
And he
He was the
lost.
spinner.
Yeah. I think he
So
lost.
again, the bigger guy with the smaller Hogu won. He deserved to win.
Did he win?
Size 4. Yes, he did.
Oh, okay.
Christian Su. I always said Su, but it's Sa, I guess.
Yeah, Christian Sa. Anyway, yeah. So that was another one.
Yeah. So there's 2 heavyweights, and there was another one in there somewhere. My notes are very messy. So
I know.
yeah, you could have rewritten them. I could have rewritten them.
I don't like rework.
Yeah, no rework.
Do it right the first time.
So apparently Hogus were not checked. Also, mouth guards were not checked.
Oh my gosh.
There's a guy kicked in the mouth.
Yeah, and
he didn't have a mouth guard.
Blood. That was one of the stoppages.
Yeah.
Because he had blood all over his face and his mouth.
And they brought him.
And we're looking at each other like, oh my God, he didn't even have a mouth guard. And don't they check for mouth guards? Because you know, in WT Taekwondo, when they first come out, they're going like this, you know, to show.
Yeah, the center ref checks both of them each.
Yeah.
And so similarly, with
an oversight. And
with the
he
Hogus,
could have lost his teeth.
who knows what size? No mouth guard optional apparently. Also, we didn't notice anyone wearing either gloves or socks.
Yeah, there's no gloves or socks.
Why would you want to be kicking so hard without any protection and punching without protection? I don't know. I would have worn gloves.
It seemed less safe than having gloves and.
Because there's less rules.
Yeah. Okay.
We've covered a whole bunch of things here. Penalties. Oh, the spinning.
Different size Hogus. Oh
spinning.
yeah. No points for spinning.
Yeah, and so numerous of the athletes love to spin.
Love to. Just spinner. They're like Bruce Lee. But no points.
No benefit.
And the ones that spin the most
lost. They always lost.
Yeah.
Because the other person's just waiting for them to be sort of a little bit off balance, and they just kick them.
So no points for spinning.
No.
And they would do all these fancy spin kicks and stuff, and they would just get 2 points.
If they connected, which they usually didn't.
If they made a sound on
it takes more energy, and even the commentators eventually said, you know, they've got to stop spinning.
Yeah.
Time to stop spinning.
They kept saying, simple. Just keep it simple.
Don't
turn your back on your opponent when you need the points.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
you see these movies.
Chip away.
See movies where
there's
guys sword fighting, somebody spins around. Yeah, no, nobody ever does that. You're dead. You're dead.
Yeah, you're dead. Okay. No multiple kicks with same length. Spinning. No best two or three. No penalty for running away.
So that
refs didn't check mouth guard.
Yeah, we got that one.
The head kicks less important.
And punching.
Yeah, there was hardly any punches.
Yeah, and this one
hardly any head kicks.
We've covered everything.
I think we did.
We actually went back and forth and we covered everything. And now I think it's time for us to sort of sum up.
Yeah. So we watched because we wanted to watch Charlotte Craig and Victoria Stimbaugh. Victoria won at the very now. See, this is just my opinion. We were talking about this. I think if they had done the best 2 out of 3. So here's how Charlotte Craig's fight went. Charlotte Craig lost the first round. It was 6-5. Then the second round, she came back and she won the second round. Now that it's a cumulative scoring, so she it was 4-11 because Victoria actually lost a couple of points from penalties, Cam Jones. And so then at the end of the second round, Charlotte was ahead. And see, now if it was best 2 out of 3, they would have gone to a third round. And whoever would have won the third round would have won the match, obviously. Right. But see, the way they did it, and Charlotte Craig, when she was back fighting, it was this type of format, you know, accumulative points, 3 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
And so the way she fought, and the reason she lost, in my opinion, is because she was trying to keep her points. She wasn't trying to get more points. She was just trying, she was more defensive. Whereas Victoria came out in the third round like batshit crazy. Where she was doing all this stuff.
Lots of punches.
Just lots of punches, and she was just throwing everything she had. She was the Energizer Bunny. She didn't fight like that in the other 2 rounds.
Right.
And Charlotte really didn't know what to do. And it ended up being 18-15. So Charlotte lost by 3 points.
Yeah. And so Victoria won the third round, 14-4.
Charlotte won the second round.
I'm just saying
11.
Victoria won the third round, 14-4.
No, 18-15.
I'm talking about the points in the third round. She got 14
you
points.
mean-
Charlotte got
okay,
4.
yeah.
14 to 4.
Yeah, she gained 14 points
Yeah.
in the third
After
round.
going -2 in the second round.
Yeah, and Charlotte only gained 4 points. I see what you're saying.
So we paid the $20. Well, actually, Stephanie paid the $20.
Well, it was $30 if you paid last night, but we paid ahead of time to get, because we're cheap.
Yeah.
So we paid the $19.95 on. We bought that Thursday to get the cheap price.
Yeah, and I'd say that 95% of the reason we did this
To watch Charlotte.
was Charlotte Craig.
Yeah.
And also to do this, to do an analysis
Well, we wanted to
of how it went.
to review it and see, is it better? Is it not better? I mean, what's the difference? Basically give it an analysis, and like we did, the pros and cons with it. And it was interesting, I have to say, but like I said, it made me appreciate the PSS system, even shitty Dado.
Yeah.
Because at least Dado's headgear usually always works, even when the chest gear doesn't work. But if we could just go to KP and P, we just wouldn't have those issues.
Right.
Just use standardize the one PSS system. But it was like the decagon was just a circle. They didn't honor the out of bounds. The arm scores that counted all the time because you could hear the sound. The low head kicks, lower punching. I would give it a thumbs down.
Okay.
Because
It's your opinion.
when we were done after the 3 hours watching all those matches, I missed the PSS system. I missed the, I could see how it does make it more fair, even though I thought the refs did a really good job. I thought the commentatorship was good. I thought it was really well produced.
Yeah.
They really did do a good job. I just, I like the rules that we got now, except for the fact that they're taking all our points away,
That's another stuff.
in June, but that's total bullshit.
Yeah.
We already covered that, but
Yeah.
so I'm giving a thumbs down. What do you think?
So the pros are very powerful, and if you like virtually no interruptions and fast and loose, lots of scoring.
Old school Taekwondo.
Old school Taekwondo is not like this. If you watch those old videos, they just stand there looking at each other, bouncing, and then finally somebody would run and kick.
But they were trying to go to old school Taekwondo.
They're trying to,
with
but
this format.
force more action.
There was more action.
So it was fast and loose, especially with the rules, and so I didn't like that. I want to know what is out of bounds, how many penalties can you get, because that's very strategic. You can force your opponent to lose if they get too many penalties. Not here. So on balance, we had 14. We counted them up. We got 14 pros and 17 cons. It's close, but for me, if it was free, I'd certainly consider watching it, especially with the constant commentary. Versus regular Taekwondo where there's no commentary for the regular rounds. So the commentary was good. It's really close for me, but it's a thumbs down. I would never pay $20 again, or Stephanie. I would ask Stephanie not to pay $20 again. I didn't pay $20, and but we agreed we would do it. So
I'm glad we did.
if you like, if you hate PSS, this works for you. Didn't work for us.
One of the things that I thought was interesting, just a side note, is like we heard from the commentators that Charlotte Craig is going to be debuting, I guess, in MMA. She's
done 2 amateur MMA fights. She wants to go pro.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
Because they can do grappling and much more punching.
Yeah. Well, I think the athletes got paid in this too.
Yeah, I think they did.
I think they're professional as well.
Yeah. And some of the fights were very entertaining. There were mismatches because of mostly size, but also some of the quality. So on balance, if it's your cup of tea, go for it. But and good for them for doing this. It was very professional. Well done.
Yeah.
But we're not going to do it again.
No.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Steph.